My wife slept with her ex, then tried to take half my life in divorce. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing something like this. But here we are. Maybe putting it all out there will help me process it, or at least warn someone else not to ignore the red flags I did. I've been married to my wife, Claire, fake name, obviously, for almost 9 years. We met in college, fell hard for each other, and married young. Looking back, maybe too young. I was 24, she was 23, and we thought love would conquer everything. At first, it felt like it did. We built a life together, slowly climbing out of the broke student phase and into something stable. I landed a good job in IT, she became a teacher, and eventually we bought our first home. I'm not going to lie, I was proud of what we accomplished. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had friends over for BBQs, went on trips when we could, and posted our happy couple photos like everyone else. But here's the thing, what you post online and what really happens inside a marriage are often two different stories. For a while, I ignored the cracks. I told myself all couples fight. That stress from work or money makes people distant sometimes. But over the last couple of years, Claire and I grew apart. I was putting in long hours at work trying to get a promotion, and she spent more and more time with her co-workers after school. I thought it was just teacher bonding nights, but looking back, maybe I should have asked more questions. The biggest red flag, though, was her ex. Let's call him Mark. They dated in high school and broke up before she met me. From the beginning, Claire insisted they were just friends, that he was like family, and that cutting him off would be immature. I didn't like it, but I also didn't want to be the controlling husband who says, no male friends allowed. So, I swallowed my discomfort whenever Mark's name came up. Sometimes it was a text she'd laugh at and show me. Other times it was her running into him by coincidence. I told myself it was fine, that she loved me and wouldn't cross that line. I was wrong. A few months ago, everything blew up. It started when Claire went out with co-workers one Friday night. She came home late, around 2 a.m., and she was acting off, not drunk, but jittery. When I asked how the night went, she gave me some vague story about karaoke and drinks, then went straight to the shower. The next morning, she was cold and distant. My gut screamed that something was wrong. For the first time in our marriage, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone, and that's when I found the messages. They weren't even trying to hide it well. There were texts from Mark that made my stomach drop. Last night was amazing. I've missed you. Can't believe we finally did this again after all these years. Don't feel guilty. It's just us reconnecting. And Claire's replies were just as bad. I don't know what I was thinking, but I couldn't resist. Please don't text me today. My name is suspicious. We have to be careful. My world shattered in that moment. I confronted her immediately. She cried. She begged. She swore it only happened once. She said she was drunk, that she got caught up in nostalgia, that it was a mistake. But all I could hear was, my wife slept with her ex. The next days were a blur. I slept on the couch. I barely ate, and every time I looked at her, I felt sick. I kept replaying every night she said she was with friends. Every time she texted and smiled at her phone. Every excuse she gave for staying late at school. Was it really just once? Or had I been living in a lie for years? When I told her I wanted a divorce, that's when the real nightmare began. Claire, who had just admitted to cheating, suddenly flipped the script. She said if I went through with a divorce, she would fight for half of everything. The house, my retirement savings, even part of the business I'd started on the side. She claimed that since we'd built a life together, she was entitled to it all, regardless of her betrayal. I thought maybe guilt would make her back down. But no, she hired a lawyer. And now I'm stuck in this surreal situation. My wife cheated on me with her ex, and somehow I'm the one who might lose everything. The first meeting with the divorce lawyer was brutal. I sat there in this polished office, leather chairs and framed degrees on the wall, while Claire calmly explained to her attorney that she was seeking a fair division of assets. The audacity of it nearly made me laugh out loud. Fair? She cheated on me, and now she wanted half of everything I worked for. But the lawyer wasn't smirking. He was nodding, scribbling notes, and explaining how, in our state, marital property is usually split 50-50. It didn't matter that my retirement fund came from years of me working late nights while she relaxed at home. It didn't matter that I'd been the one saving and investing while she spent freely on shopping and vacations with friends. As far as the law was concerned, it was ours. I walked out of there shaking with anger. It wasn't just the betrayal anymore. It was the injustice of the system itself. When I confronted Claire afterward, she tried to soften it. Look, I know I messed up, but we've been married almost a decade. I supported you emotionally all those years. I helped build this life. I deserve something too. Something. She wanted half, and she had no shame asking for it. That night, I vented to my best friend, Jason. He's the kind of guy who doesn't sugarcoat things. I told him everything, the cheating, the text, the lawyer, the demand for half. He just shook his head and said, "Man, she's playing you twice. First in your marriage, now in divorce. Don't let her walk away like that." Easier said than done. I didn't want to become some bitter ex-husband screaming in court, but I also wasn't going to let her rob me blind. I started digging. I pulled bank statements, credit card bills, anything that could show she was spending money behind my back. And sure enough, I found things that didn't add up. Random hotel charges, Uber rides to neighborhoods she had no reason to be in, expensive dinners for two. When I confronted her about those, she admitted to a few nights out, but still insisted she only slept with Mark once. I didn't believe her anymore. The worst part? Mark himself had the nerve to message me. One Sunday morning, while I was scrolling through emails, I saw his name pop up. I almost deleted it immediately, but curiosity got the better of me. The message said, "I'm sorry for what happened between me and Claire. It wasn't planned, and I didn't mean to hurt you. But you should understand that she's unhappy and has been for a while. I think you both need to move on." Move on. This guy slept with my wife, and then had the gall to act like he was giving me wise advice. I wanted to throw my phone through the wall. Instead, I saved the email. My lawyer said it could help show proof of the affair. Not that it mattered much legally, but maybe it would sway the settlement in my favor. Meanwhile, living in the same house had become unbearable. We barely spoke, except to argue about who was using the kitchen or when. She'd be out so I could have some peace. She refused to move out, claiming she had just as much right to the house as I did. I started sleeping in the guest room, avoiding her as much as possible. But every morning, when I saw her at the breakfast table scrolling on her phone, I wondered if she was texting him. One night, I overheard her on the phone whispering, "I can't wait to see you again." My stomach dropped. She was still talking to him. After everything. After being caught. After crying and apologizing. After saying it was a mistake. She hadn't stopped. That was the breaking point. I realized she didn't love me anymore. Maybe hadn't for a long time. And yet she still wanted to drain me dry financially. So I made a decision. If she was going to fight dirty, so would I. I told my lawyer everything. The text, the hotel receipts, the late night calls, even the email from Mark. He agreed it wasn't a guaranteed win, but he'd do everything he could to protect me. The next few weeks turned into a war zone. Claire's lawyer pushed for half of the house value, half my savings, and even spousal support. They argued that she had sacrificed her career opportunities for the marriage. A joke, considering she'd chosen a stable job and never once complained about it. My lawyer countered with proof of her affair and financial irresponsibility. It didn't erase everything, but it gave us leverage. The hardest part wasn't even the legal stuff. It was the emotional exhaustion. Every time I saw her walking around the house, acting like she was still entitled to everything, I wanted to scream. At night, I'd lie awake wondering how the hell my life had turned into this soap opera. Sometimes I even doubted myself. Had I been too focused on work? Did I neglect her emotionally? Was I partly to blame? But then I'd remember those texts, those hotel charges, that phone call. No matter what, cheating was a choice, and she had chosen him. By the time we officially filed for divorce, I was running on fumes. I'd lost weight, my sleep was shot, and my work performance had tanked. My boss even pulled me aside and asked if I needed time off. I almost laughed. I needed time off from my life. Court dates were set, lawyers exchanged documents, and every day felt like I was living in a pressure cooker. Claire, meanwhile, seemed to thrive in the chaos. She walked around the house with this bizarre confidence, as if cheating had never happened. One morning, she even had the nerve to say, "You're being so cold to me. We could have worked this out if you weren't so stubborn." Worked this out? She slept with her ex and kept seeing him afterward. There was nothing left to work out, but the gaslighting didn't stop there. She told mutual friends that I was overreacting, that I was punishing her for one mistake. Some of them actually believed her. I started getting texts from people saying, "Are you sure you want to throw away 9 years over this?" I wanted to scream. She threw it away, not me. The worst was when her parents got involved. They invited me over for dinner one night to talk things through. Naively, I went. Instead of sympathy, I got an ambush. Her mother said, "Marriage is hard, dear. People make mistakes. You should forgive Claire." Her father added, "You'll regret it if you let one lapse of judgment ruin your future together." I sat there in disbelief. Was I the only sane person left? I finally snapped and told them everything. The texts, The hotel charges, the ongoing calls with Mark. Their faces went pale. But even then, they tried to downplay it. Maybe she's confused. Maybe it's just emotional. No, it wasn't just emotional. She slept with him multiple times, and then she demanded half of my life savings. That was the night I realized I had to stop caring about what anyone else thought. Friends, family, neighbors, none of them were living in my shoes. None of them knew what it felt like to lie in bed next to someone who betrayed you. The court battle heated up quickly. Claire's lawyer pushed the narrative that she had contributed equally to the marriage. They even tried to argue she'd supported me through my career, as if her being a teacher somehow built my IT salary. My lawyer presented our evidence, the affair, the financial recklessness, the fact that she was still in contact with Mark. The judge listened, but I could tell cheating didn't carry the weight I thought it would. In the eyes of the law, marriage was more about money than morality. That realization nearly broke me. I wanted justice, but all the system offered was math. Then came Claire's compromise. One evening, she knocked on the guest room door and said, "We don't have to destroy each other. If you just agree to sell the house and split everything evenly, we can end this quickly." Evenly. That word again. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You destroyed this marriage. You don't get to walk away with half like some innocent victim." She smirked, actually smirked, and replied, "The law doesn't care who cheated. You'll see." That smirk haunted me for days. At the next hearing, her lawyer pushed for temporary spousal support, claiming Claire couldn't maintain her lifestyle without my income. My lawyer fought tooth and nail, pointing out her stable job and the fact that she'd been spending money on hotel rooms and dinners with another man. The judge denied the support request, but warned me not to expect a clean win. "Marital assets are marital assets," he said. I walked out of court feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Even when I won, it didn't feel like a win. Meanwhile, Claire doubled down on her smear campaign. She told people I was vindictive, controlling, obsessed with money. She painted herself as the victim of my coldness and unforgiving nature. And the worst part, some people bought it. Jason told me to block her, ignore the noise, and focus on the finish line. She wants to break you, man. Don't give her that satisfaction. Easier said than done. Every day felt like a chess match I was slowly losing. One night, after another sleepless stretch, I found myself staring at the ceiling, wondering if she'd planned this from the beginning. Had she always kept Mark in her back pocket? Had I been the placeholder husband while she waited for some spark with her ex to reignite? That thought drove me insane. So, I stopped waiting for justice and started preparing for survival. If the court was going to treat this like numbers on paper, then I'd play the numbers game too. I shifted money into separate accounts, secured my business records, and made damn sure every dollar was accounted for. If she wanted a war, I was ready. The day of the main court hearing felt like Judgment Day. I barely slept. My suit felt too tight, and my heart was pounding out of my chest as I walked into the courthouse. Claire was already there, sitting with her lawyer, perfectly put together like she hadn't spent the last few months detonating our marriage. She even gave me a little smile, like this was some kind of performance and we were the lead actors. Her lawyer opened with the same tired speech. "My client has devoted nearly a decade to this marriage. She has contributed equally to the household, and she deserves her fair share of the assets. She should not be punished for one lapse in judgment." That phrase, "one lapse in judgment," made me grip the table so hard my knuckles turned white. It wasn't a lapse. It was betrayal. Repeated betrayal. When it was our turn, my lawyer laid everything out. The hotel receipts, the text, the late night calls, even the email from Mark. He explained how Claire had continued the affair after being caught. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said plainly, "This is not a wife who made one mistake. This is a pattern of infidelity and financial recklessness. My client should not have to sacrifice half his livelihood to reward her choices." For a moment, I felt hopeful. The judge looked at the evidence and frowned. Claire shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Maybe, just maybe, the truth would matter. Then Claire took the stand. She turned on the waterworks like a seasoned actress. Tears, trembling voice, the whole show. She claimed she felt lonely because I worked too much. She said Mark had been a shoulder to cry on. She insisted she still loved me deeply and had hoped for forgiveness, but that I chose anger instead of compassion. It was surreal. She had cheated, lied, and kept sneaking around. Yet somehow she twisted it into my fault. The judge didn't look convinced, but he also didn't shut her down. When it was my turn to testify, I didn't try to match her drama. I spoke calmly. I explained how I'd sacrificed, how I'd built up our finances, how I discovered the affair, how she kept seeing Mark even after being caught. I told the truth without theatrics. Still, I walked out of that courtroom unsure if the truth was enough. Weeks passed before we got the ruling. Those weeks were hell. Claire continued to live in the house, parading around like she had already won. She even started bringing home shopping bags again, as if she was celebrating early. Then the envelope came. I sat at the kitchen table, hands shaking, and opened it. The judge's ruling wasn't the clean victory I wanted, but it wasn't the total loss Claire expected either. The assets were divided, not perfectly 50-50ths, but close. She got a portion of the savings, some furniture, and part of the house equity. But she didn't get spousal support. She didn't get my business. And she didn't get my retirement fund. It was bittersweet. On paper, I still lost a lot. But emotionally, watching her face when she realized she wasn't walking away with half my life was priceless. She exploded afterward. You ruined me. You'll regret this. I gave you the best years of my life. And this is how you repay me. I just stared at her. There was nothing left to say. A week later, she moved out. The house felt eerily quiet without her, but also lighter. Like someone had finally opened a window after years of suffocating air. I thought that was the end of it. But then came the text from Mark. Late one night, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. The message said, "She's your problem now. Good luck." At first, I didn't understand. But then another text followed. She thought I'd leave my girlfriend for her. Not happening. You can have her drama back. I laughed out loud for the first time in months. The man she risked everything for didn't even want her. That was when I finally felt free. I wasn't just divorcing Claire. I was divorcing the lies, the manipulation, the endless cycle of excuses. She could spin her story to friends and family all she wanted. But deep down, she knew the truth. And so did I. For the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a beaten-down husband. I saw a survivor. After Claire moved out, silence filled the house. At first it was strange. No clinking of her wine glass at night. No footsteps pacing the hallway on the phone. No perfume lingering in the bathroom. The emptiness was deafening, but slowly it became comforting. I started to reclaim the space as mine. I painted the guest room where I'd been sleeping, moved my desk into the sunny corner she used to hog for her crafts, and cleared out the closet of all the dresses and shoes she left behind. Each bag I donated felt like shedding a layer of poison. The hardest part wasn't the material loss. It wasn't even the betrayal anymore. It was untangling my identity from hers. For nearly a decade, my life had been our life. Every decision, every plan, every dream was framed around us. Now it was just me. At first, I didn't know who that was. But slowly, I started to figure it out. I threw myself into the business I'd started on the side. Without the constant drama draining me, I actually had the energy to grow it. Clients came in faster, projects expanded, and for the first time, I felt proud of building something that was truly mine. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected. Jason dragged me out for beers and introduced me to new people. For the first few months, I wasn't interested in dating. The idea of trusting someone again felt impossible. But I was open to laughing, to telling stories, to being more than the guy whose wife cheated. Therapy helped, too. I won't lie, I resisted at first. I thought talking to a stranger about my feelings was pointless. But sitting across from someone who listened without judgment gave me clarity I didn't know I needed. My therapist reminded me that Claire's choices weren't a reflection of my worth. They were a reflection of hers. The more I healed, the more I realized how many red flags I had ignored. The late nights, the secrecy with her phone, the way she defended keeping her ex in her life. I brushed them off because I wanted to believe love was enough. But love without respect, without loyalty, is just a pretty mask covering rot. Months passed. The divorce papers were finalized, assets divided, and my lawyer closed the case. Claire tried one last stunt. A long email claiming she still loved me, that she had made a mistake, that maybe we could find our way back someday. I didn't even reply. I just forwarded it to my lawyer to keep on file and deleted it from my inbox. Because by then, I'd already moved forward. One evening, I stood in my backyard, grilling steaks with Jason and a few co-workers, and it hit me. This was what peace felt like. No constant suspicion, no cold war in my own home, no gaslighting to make me doubt reality. Just laughter, food, and people who actually valued me. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. And here's the kicker. A mutual friend later told me Claire was miserable. After Mark dumped her, she tried dating again, but couldn't hold on to anyone. Apparently, her bitterness seeped through every conversation. She told people I'd ruined her life. But deep down, everyone knew she had lit the match herself. Do I feel vindicated? In a way, yes. But mostly I feel relieved. I don't hate her. I don't even wish her harm. I just don't care anymore. She's a chapter in my life that taught me the hardest lesson. Never ignore the red flags. Never sacrifice your self-worth for someone else's comfort. And never assume loyalty just because you signed a piece of paper. Now, when I look at the scars she left, I don't see weakness. I see proof that I survived. Proof that I chose myself instead of letting someone drain me dry. And maybe one day, when I'm ready, I'll open my heart to someone new. But this time, I'll know the difference between love that builds and love that destroys. Because I've lived through the fire, and I'm not walking back into it.